We're live back in the sanctuary. Welcome to episode 2 of the Screaming Idiot Show. Kyler back with you. Tyler's back. Got a little somebody else in here.
Yo, what's up? My name is Preston.
You guys had a show that you played on Saturday, and we're going to dive into that. First, I want to say thank you to everyone who tuned into episode 1. I was blown away by the response that we had. I mean, when I saw that we were being streamed in Washington and Texas and New York, all over the country, and then I see we're being streamed in Europe and in Germany, that's pretty fucking awesome. So I appreciate everybody tuning in, and I appreciate all of the interaction that I've had on my TikTok channel. And we've gotten a lot of feedback and requests from you guys, and we're going to get to some of those today. So first, I do want to start, and let's talk about the Screaming Evidence show last night and how that went.
Tyler, I'll let you do your thing.
Yeah, so the fun thing about local shows, and, you know, we've talked a little bit about our band a little bit. Make no mistake, we are still very much a local band. So these local shows, sometimes they're put together well, sometimes not so much. Sometimes things happen throughout the event that kind of causes things to go sideways. You know, yesterday's event, you know, I have to shout out Brad and the guys from Sour Blood that, you know, they could really put together a good show.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, they
Definitely
they
can.
organize things pretty damn well.
Take a lot of pride.
Oh,
in
they
doing it as
do,
well.
man, and it's awesome. It's just some of the bands that we had involved in that show. One in particular, just they weren't the right fit.
Yeah.
And I don't mean that as in like the music wasn't right or the vibe wasn't right. Knowing what I know about the band, they don't play shows like that very often, where they have to set up quickly and get broken down quickly.
Yeah.
And, you know, it took them 45 minutes to get set up and get sound checked.
Yep.
And it put us in a position, because the show was already running about 15 minutes behind, put us in a position where we had 30 minutes to get sound checked and start playing. So by the time, you know, we went from...
You mean 30
expecting
minutes total?
Yeah.
Like
so
overall, yeah.
We were supposed to have a 45-minute set, and it was 12:35 before we actually started playing music, and the cutoff was 1. And playing that late, I was already pretty upset about, but not so upset that I wasn't willing to do it. You know what I mean? It's not the most ideal spot to play last at a local show. It's not like, you know, we're the big headliner that everyone's waiting on. It's very much you're closing out the night, and by the time you play, a lot of people have already left.
Mm-hmm.
So I wasn't upset about how many people left. Honestly, I don't blame them. I normally would have been in bed by then. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm a dad now.
We're all dads, and
Yeah,
that's
we're-
way
I'm getting
past
old.
our...
I'm
Yeah.
getting in bed normally at 9:30. That was late for me, man.
Yeah,
Woo.
so, you know, all that being said, I think we did the best we could with
What you
the
had.
situation we were presented with. Honestly, we've been presented with much worse situations.
Yeah.
And
Yep.
I got some stories. Preston, you've heard a few.
Way before I was with the band, but I've heard them.
But yeah, so my take on it, Brad and them, they put together a really good show every time we play with them guys. You know, just the certain circumstances that had happened really just didn't sit well with me.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff that almost makes you not want to do this shit anymore.
Yeah.
You know, it makes you weary about setting up these kind of shows, and you know, that's honestly part of what's been killing my motivation to do much with the band for the last couple of years.
Sure. And it's not the first time that you guys have been put on, you know, that quote-unquote headliner position, right? Last one to play for the night. And with these local shows, at least, the ones that I've been to, I was at the one last night. If anybody's going to get fucked in the deal, it's the guys that are playing last, right? Because
I've noticed that time and time again.
And you guys only had, and Tyler mentioned it, you had a certain amount of time remaining to accomplish your goal. I mean, you guys had to cut set list in half.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because I know, Tyler, you're very humble and you won't admit it, but the majority of the people that came out to that show came to see you guys, and those people stayed. And again, I as a fan, I understand why some would have left because again, it's coming on 1 o'clock in the morning, and
right.
We're not as young as we used to be. So.
Well, and I think the other thing is maybe playing last is a disadvantage, but it's mainly a disadvantage when everything gets pushed back that much further.
Yes.
To where everything's rushed. And selfishly, as a band, when I get upset after a performance, it's when our performance doesn't accurately depict who we are as a band. And last night did not.
Correct.
At all.
And I would agree with that just because, I've been to a lot of your guys' shows. And I should have prefaced this. Preston is the lead guitarist for Screaming Evidence, so I apologize for not introducing you as such right off the rib. I mean, my best friend of 15 years, you'd think I'd know better. But, you guys have always put on an absolute hell of a show, every time I've been out to see you. And people that follow you and travel around to see you guys play know that. So don't think that, you guys let your fans down last night, because I can assure you, you didn't. You did, and I think Preston put it best, or Tyler put it best, I'm sorry. You did exactly the best you could with the hand that you were dealt. And, I know there's some local, some smaller up-and-coming bands that listen to this podcast. Again, I want to shout out Devil's Envy.
I'm going to have to look into those guys.
Yeah, you'll have to. Yeah, they're really talented. I actually really enjoy their music. So
is that who you showed me the last time?
Yeah, they reached out to me on TikTok.
Okay.
Yeah. And had said, come check out my music, or come check out our music, and I did, and it was really good. But again, there's bands like that probably, listen to this pod or will listen to this pod, and I guess, what kind of advice could you give for those guys to, kind of, as frustrated as you are, as shitty as the situation is, to stay true to yourself and still go out and try to put on the best show possible for your fans, because that's what you guys did last night. So what's your mindset when you're like, fuck, we've got 30 minutes, we got 5 minutes to fucking get tuned, sound check, and get going, and we've got 30 minutes to play because that's the hand we were dealt. What's your advice there?
Do you want to go, or?
Well, I have a lot that I could say, but I'd really like to hear your take first.
So, I don't know that I'll be able to put it into words best, but I mean, this is what I love doing. I've loved playing music and listening to music ever since, hell, I don't know. I mean, I started playing music in 8th grade, but just being able to get out and play somewhere, I mean, that's a privilege in itself. So at the end of the day, you got to take a step back and be thankful that we were able to even get together and play regardless of the circumstances. So as dumb as it sounds, like, I don't know that we go into it to do it for the fans, but I'm appreciative that people want to follow along because we do it for us.
Mm-hmm.
We don't do it for anybody. I mean, we do it because it's what we like.
Yeah,
to
it's
do.
not like you're doing it for a living. You're doing it because you love to do it.
Yeah,
right. So I mean, I guess to start, what I'll say is, kind of like Preston said, it's a privilege to get out there and be able to play. And I've been playing live music with this band for 12 years. I was doing this at 16 years old, going to venues that I really wasn't allowed to be in.
Right.
They would put like, when you're like 18, unable to drink, they put like X's on your hands and stuff.
Yep.
They gave me like X's and wristbands and was like, no, you're not
Don't
allowed
let
to
this
leave.
fucker drink.
You're not allowed to leave the building until you're leaving for good. And I'm like, but like cigarettes are smoked outside, not in here. They're like, that sucks to be you. I'm like, fuck. All right. But you know, I used to do a lot of dumb shit just in the name of being able to play, whether it was for practice, whether it was for a show, and you've got a little taste of some of the silly shows that we'll play just for the sake of being able to get out there
Get
and
out
play.
there and play. Exactly.
So there is that mindset piece, you know, when you're frustrated and things kind of suck, you know, just appreciate that you have the ability to get out there and do this thing that you love to do. And
Yeah, because when you're playing these local small shows, a lot of the time they're going to be a shit show, and it's what you make of them.
yeah,
It
and
really is,
it,
and that's okay. Not saying that last night was by any means. I'm not. That's
Right.
not it at all.
But it was
But
there's
less
a
another-
good
than
chance
ideal.
that it's going to be
Yeah.
a shit show. If it ends up being great, then that's super awesome.
Yeah,
But
it's a
that's,
Not
bonus.
every show is going to be the Barnyard Bash.
yeah, not
Yeah.
every show is going to be louder than life.
No.
right
You know what I mean?
Right.
But you know, this is what I will say.
at our level at least.
yeah. Ozfest 99 and yeah.
So what I'll say to any local artists out there that's, you know, kind of frustrated with the type of shows and stuff that they're dealing with,
It's
and
part of it.
it's part of it, but one thing I will throw out there that is probably the main reason that Screaming Evidence still has fans that comes around and will, I mean, look, we live an hour away from Columbus, an hour away from Dayton, Ohio, an hour away from Cincinnati, Ohio, and that's where all the good shows are. And so any show, most of the shows that we play, we're asking our fans to drive an hour and 20 minutes.
It's a huge ask.
And, you know, we're asking a lot of our fans. What I'll tell you guys out there is take care of your fans.
Absolutely.
And
Yep.
and to kind of put some context around that, you know, I've had interactions with promoters that'll ask us to come out and, you know, sell a bunch of tickets for like 20, 25 bucks a piece. And they're like, you're going to get a 20-minute set list. We're going to have 10-minute rotations, things like that. And I'm like, dude, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because, and I've told them, I'm like, look, I got fans driving an hour and 20 minutes to see me,
Mm-hmm.
to see
Yep.
my band. They're not here to see all these other bands that they don't know. If they like those bands, that's amazing.
It's a
that's
bonus.
great.
For sure. It's a
Yeah.
bonus.
Yeah.
But our fans are coming to see us, and our fans are actually pretty good. They tend to stick around and listen to other bands and try to support the other local artists. But that's because we take care of them, and
yeah.
because we take care of them, they do what we ask them to do. And what I mean by that is we don't ask them to come to shows that aren't worth coming to.
Nope.
Yeah, and you know, from a fan perspective, and you guys personally, to me, take better care of your fans. And Sour Blood's another band that I think does really well of this.
I agree.
Take such good care of your fans that somebody like me. Now, again, I'm probably a little biased. I'm probably not the right person to ask because you guys are my best friends. So I am more than willing to travel, however far it is, to go see a show. And I would venture to say that the majority of Screaming Evidence fans are also willing to do such.
Mhm.
And that's because of how you guys treat us as fans at shows, you know, how you treat fans on social media, in the public, whatever it might be. You're very engaging, you're very honest, you're very open. You know, you guys are sitting at your own merch table selling merch in between, you know, sets. You're doing all the right things. And as a fan, any advice that I could give to, you know, a lot of those up and coming bands is to do that, right? And Tyler said it best. Take care of your fans. Just make yourself available, right? And we understand that, you know, fans can be annoying, right? They can be. But you know, Preston, you've got a little girl last night wanting to take her picture with you because she loves your music and what you do. I mean, how
Yeah.
fucking cool is that, dude?
It's pretty neat, man.
So shit like that to me would be the coolest thing in the world. And I, as another fan, just love seeing that because I remember being that little kid and being obsessed with certain bands, and I didn't have that opportunity to do things like that. So, you know, take care of your fans and be courteous and just remember to have some patience, I think, is the message.
Yeah, so I guess another thing, you know, on On the idea of giving some advice to local artists out there, up and coming artists, you hear the terms support your local musicians a lot.
Yeah.
And Preston, I've had this conversation with
We've
you.
had this conversation a bunch.
Where it's fuck you, dude. You're not entitled to shit because you're a local band.
Yep.
Right.
And there's a lot of bands that's all they got. They're like, we're a local band, so you should come support us. And it's like, okay, I can spend $10 to get in and come see you play, or I can spend $20 and go see fucking Norma Jean play. Which one is worth my time?
Yeah. What value do you provide me?
Yeah. Am I going just to support a friend or support someone that I happen to live in the same town as? What are you providing? And this is a question that I ask myself for Screaming Evidence, and you have to look at it objectively. If you're thinking of it in this biased sense of subjective terms, you're never going to be able to answer the question honestly. And if you ask yourself this question objectively, and you look and you at your own band and you say, what value do we provide our fans for their time? Our fans are maneuvering work schedules to come see us. They
Maneuvering
are
their kids' schedules.
Yeah, they're sending kids to babysitters. They're driving X amount of time. Some of the shows that we've played, our fans have had to get fucking hotel rooms to be able to stay up where they're going to be because we're playing late and we're an hour away from home, and it just makes more sense to do that.
And they're also showing up early for other bands.
Yeah, and they're doing what we asked them to do. We asked them to help support the show, not just us.
Yep.
And so if you're not asking yourself as a local artist, a local band, what value do we actually provide our fans for their time, then you're never going to get out of doing silly shows, shitty shows, and you're never going to you're going to have a few shows when you first get started where you have like your friends and your family that come, and they're going to be excited to see you play. But after they see you play a couple of times, they're not going to want to come back. They're not going to want to come to the next show because they've already seen what you got, and what you got isn't something that's worth their time. And so it comes down to focusing on your music, honing in your craft. You know, if you're going up there and you're slopping through your set, not a great experience for your fan, you know, especially if you have the stuff recorded and they hear what it's actually supposed to sound like, and you get up there and fumble fuck the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's not a great experience for the fan.
Well, and that's where I felt so crappy at the end of last night, where it was, once again, that did not accurately depict who we are as a band.
Yep.
You had people wait hours upon hours to watch us, and it just felt by the end of it, and that's where I was upset.
And you guys were mentally, emotionally, and physically exhausted at that point because of, wow, we're playing an hour and a half past when we were supposed to play after it was all said and done. And you know, if you looked at the show list, you guys were supposed to play at 11.
No, we
No,
were
it
supposed
was
to play
12.
at midnight.
It was
Was
12.
it midnight? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
we were
but you
supposed
still
to be
went on
stage starting music at midnight.
and you were on stage starting at
12:45, I'm pretty sure.
and
No,
Yeah.
it would have been
12:35.
12:35. Yeah,
12:35. So, and for what you guys had to work with, yes, you might have been disappointed in the outcome, but just talking to other people in the crowd during and after the performance, I think people were more proud of you guys for what you were able to salvage out of that
Yeah.
than they would have been had you just gone up there, and you showed a shit ton of resolve is basically what I'm getting at. And we talked about it late last night. Preston, you and I were texting at 2:00 in the morning, like, man, you were fucking bummed.
I felt bad.
You felt bad, and you were fucking apologizing to me. I'm like, brother, you ain't got shit to apologize to me for. Y'all went out there and did your thing as best you fucking could, and I think a lot of up-and-coming bands need to remember that when they find themselves in a scenario like that, to not get discouraged, go out there and put on the best show you can with what you have. Don't just go out there and be pissed off and play a shitty-ass set list. Do your thing. Play like you're in the studio recording. And even if you got to do what you guys did and cut the fucking set list in half, you know?
Just pick your best ones.
Well,
And that's what you did.
well, the other thing, and
That's exactly what you
selfishly, I mean, I had a bad attitude from the get-go because we didn't get sound checked. I couldn't hear a damn thing but drums and cymbals.
You had no bridge pickup.
I thought the world was ending, and I could have took a step back and have been thankful in the moment that I was able to be up there.
Luckily,
with
you're
my
talented
dudes.
enough that you could play a solo in the blind with no sound.
I
I don't know about that. But
You did, though. You
I'll
did
ask
it.
a question.
it was trashy.
So, anyone listening, Screaming Evidence is the first band that Preston has ever played with.
Yep.
Imagine that we played that show within the first couple of shows that you played with us. How are you reacting then?
I probably would have pissed my pants on stage, honestly. There'd have been a puddle. There'd have been a puddle. No,
But,
I mean,
so-
I tend to get. for
Don't
whatever
short sell
reason-
yourself here, too, because
No, I
for the
mean,
people listening,
I remember the
you are an
first show we
incredibly
played.
talented guitarist.
Yeah, but I remember the first show we had played, and it might have been a 25, 30 person show, and half of those people were the other bands. I was nervous as can be. Of course, anything new to you, if you're like me, you're going
nervous.
to be nervous.
You're nervous.
But no, I mean, if it were within the first 6 months or a year of us playing, I might have walked off that stage.
So it's the calluses.
Fuck that shit, I'm
Yeah.
out.
It's the calluses that you build over time, and if you're a musician that hasn't kind of been through the ringer. So I mean the other guys, myself, Sean, and Scotty that are in Screaming Evidence, we've been through some shit. And so when we run into situations like that really wasn't that big of a deal to us in comparison to what we've been through in the past. And so if you're a band that's just getting started, don't be too eager to get out there and play shows. Make sure you're well rehearsed. Make sure
Yes.
you're prepared for
Yep.
technical difficulties. Make sure you're
'Cause it
prepared
happens.
for the type of bullshit that can happen. Practice an hour-long set preparing for a 20-minute set that you're actually going to be playing, because you don't know what's going to happen. Maybe a band drops out and you get more time.
Yep.
Or
You'll get pushed back. I mean, your set's going to. There's
Yeah,
several shows.
there's so many shows
Yeah.
where you get pushed back, and the next thing you know, a 25-minute set becomes a 20-minute set. And just be prepared for those scenarios. And honestly, you can kind of practice this stuff and practice. If you got a decent room to jam in, you can set your jam room up more like you're on stage and get a better feel for what it sounds like being on stage, so that, like Preston was saying, he couldn't hear, the
Nothing.
second guitar or the bass or the vocals. All you can hear,
Playing
and all I
blind.
heard was drums and vocals. That's because I asked for vocals in my monitors, but all I heard was drums. I'm really good at being able to play off of just the drums or just the vocals or just one guitar, and it just comes with experience and practicing. So don't be too eager to put yourself out there when you're not prepared, thinking that it's going to be this, awesome experience. It's probably going to be a shit experience unless you're prepared for it.
It's going to happen time and time again.
Would you guys believe me if I told you we just had another up-and-coming band live on TikTok tell me that they're really underrated? And I just listened to a clip of their song while y'all were talking,
Okay.
and it's fucking killer. So I want to shout out Unclean.
Oh, that's
Just
cool.
listen to their song Blue, and holy shit is it good. So shout out to Unclean. Thanks for the interaction on TikTok.
Where are they from?
I don't know. I haven't got that far.
Okay.
But
It just happened.
it literally
Hey,
just happened.
I
Okay?
bet nowadays you can find stuff out pretty quick.
That's true. So shout out to
It's just a
Unclean.
Google away.
I just listened to their single Blue, and dude's vocals are nuts. So
Okay.
shout out to Unclean.
Sweet.
But yeah, again, just to wrap that little piece up, work with what you got.
It's going to suck for a while.
It's going to suck for a while. Treat your fans right.
Yep.
Try to be level-headed, and like you guys you guys were apologized to last night for what was going on, and everybody that was there understood that you guys were put in a shitty scenario, and that was probably the blessing for playing in a venue like that, and with the people that were there. Some of the guys you've played with before, that everybody there understood that you guys were you were dealt a shit ass hand.
Well, you could say that, but we also did Brad and Sour Blood a favor because of the situation.
Correct.
So it wasn't that because we were put at midnight we were dealt a shit hand or anything like that. By no means.
Yeah, we agreed at that time.
It was that you went on at 12:45
we agreed to that
or 12:35.
It being 12:4,
and you had to be done by
1.
one.
But no, overall it's all good. And the other thing, really quick, before we close this part out, we were talking about, having to sell tickets for bigger shows and all that. I wanted to give Brad and Justin from Sour Blood another shout out because it seems like they know that that's a part of the business, and they have done their fair share of promoting their own shows for that. I guess to not have that crappy of an experience when you are a local band.
Right. Yeah, because they've been doing it for
a long time,
a very long time,
yep.
Since like early 2000s, and they've been through all the different forms of the live industry over the last 20, 25 years, and so they
and
know what it's like.
If I'm missing anybody else that was a part of setting that up, I apologize, but
I think Brad was.
I know that. Yeah,
I think Brad was pretty much the main guy.
Yeah.
But shout out, I guess, since we've mentioned the name 4 different times.
Sour
if anybody's into metalcore, check out Sour Blood. Those dudes are sweet.
And
dudes are sweet.
I mentioned it in the last episode. Please go check out Screaming Evidence. If you guys are into a great combination of hard rock, heavy metal music, please go check them out. You can find them anywhere. They're out there.
We got some soft stuff too.
You got some
we get
stuff
pretty.
You can cry to.
Yeah,
we get pretty once in a while.
Absolutely. So, you guys good on that?
Yeah.
Anything? I definitely don't want to leave anything out, and make sure that you guys got out what you wanted to say before we get on to the happy shit. Y'all ready for the happy shit? Okay, so what we did last week, and we actually started the show off with this, was we basically ran Avenged Sevenfold through the fucking mud for Read Through the Fire! Because that song, nobody is listening to it. So.
Nobody is listening to that motherfucker.
They named it perfectly. I'll give them that. They named
God.
it perfectly. So, man, that's 2 episodes we ran Avenged Sevenfold through the fucking mud. So, we were asked to
I think this whole show should be about running that
song through the fucking
mud.
Run through the mud. Yeah. God, the people are going to quit listening because I'm doing that. So, we're going to quit that shit. So, I was sent a DM, excuse me, on TikTok about Falling Under Verse's new song called Watch the World Burn. So, Ronnie Radke, for one, is a fantastic follow on TikTok because he just don't give a fuck about nothing. So, this song, Preston, I know you checked it out, and It's probably not your cup of tea, but just give me your kind of thoughts on it and where you stand on that right now.
Yeah, so I had heard this a while back. I guess I didn't realize it. You know how you hear a song in passing?
Yep.
Maybe that type of rap isn't my thing, but, I mean, overall, I think it's pretty damn cool what he did.
Yeah.
Well, what they did, excuse me.
Yeah.
And, I mean, because I'm a gearhead, that guitar tone was sweet.
It was those dive bombs were gnarly.
Yeah, that guitar tone was sweet.
Yeah, so,
thank you.
I personally, well, Tyler, I'll let you. I've probably got a little little bit more to say about it than you do, so I will let you kind of go ahead and give me your thoughts on Watch the World then.
Okay. So I hadn't heard the song before today. Listened to it a few times. What I'll say is I've never really listened to Falling in Reverse much in the past. With this,
Which, how did we not? Because I knew they were a big.
Well, because,
I had
Ronnie
heard
was
of
with
him,
Bless the
but-
Fall, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Ronnie went to prison, and they fired him,
Okay.
or he quit, one of the two. I don't want to piss Ronnie Gradke off because then he'll roast me on TikTok. I love you, Ronnie. Please don't fucking roast me on TikTok, bro.
he's going to
So,
kill you.
he is. So
You're
he
canceled.
he gets out of prison, and then, which was a fucked up deal when he went to prison. It was pretty shitty because anyway, I'm not going to go down that road. But I don't think free Ronnie, free my dude Ronnie. So, and then he comes out and he starts Falling in Reverse. So he was known for being with Bless the Fall first, but so go ahead, Tyler.
Yeah, so I guess with the whole style of the song, I've listened to stuff in the past that was very much like rap and rock or hip hop and rock. I'm a big new metal
Time out.
fan.
Time out. My dumbass just said that he was with Bless the Fall, and he was 100% not with Bless the Fall. He was with Falling in Reverse, and I knew when it came out of my mouth. I'm like, now wait a minute,
Something's wrong.
that's wrong. No, he was sorry. That's my fault. He was definitely not with Bless the Fall. He was with Escape the Fate. So sorry about that. Sorry, Ronnie. I'm definitely getting fucking
You're getting
drilled.
canceled.
I'm gonna get
You're getting
drilled
canceled
on TikTok
if
for
he
that,
ever
so.
listens to this.
Yeah.
We're gonna. People are gonna call us out on this.
Ronnie
We
Radke,
do not know what
former
we're talking
frontman
about.
of Escape the Fate, current frontman of Falling in Reverse. I know I'm a fake fan. I'm sorry. Continue.
Boomer core.
Boomer core. Yeah,
But
the
anyway,
gatekeeper. Yeah.
Anyway, so I guess with the style, I've listened to that rap and metal, rap and rock mix before, and it's normally the same thing. It's normally like some rap in the verses and then like a rock chorus.
Yep.
They might throw in like a bit of a breakdown or something. But what I found interesting about this song is they split it up completely different.
Yep.
They started it off like the first half was just straight rap with some guitars, which tones were pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, tones were great.
Yeah, tones were good.
But
I need to find out what that guitar tone was from.
It was pretty sweet.
But halfway through the song, they transitioned really well into this more rock and metal style, and I really appreciated that. I just can't say that I love the song or the style. Part of it may have been that I really didn't get a chance to really listen to what the lyrics were saying. I'm like cooking and stuff while I'm listening to this.
Whipping in the kitchen.
Dad life. But I guess if I was able to listen to the lyrics a little better, understand what the message is, kind of like we talked about last episode.
If you watch the music video, you'd get the message.
Well, see, that's where, because funny enough, the way I go to bed every night, I put my headphones on, click it into the laptop, I watch YouTube, and
don't forget your huggle.
You gotta have a
I do
huggle
wear a huggle.
Gotta have a
If
huggle.
y'all don't wear a huggle to bed,
Hey, you can
and
wear
you
a
have a
huggle all you
wife
want.
that keeps the house really cold, a huggle will save your life, I
Yeah.
swear to God. Anyways, so normally I watch a YouTube video or 12 before I go to bed. I don't watch TV very rarely. But anyways, I had came across that song and video, and I can't remember when it was, but didn't think anything of it because it's not something I would normally radiate towards, I guess.
Right.
But listening to it again, same as a lot of songs, it's pretty damn cool.
Yeah, it's cool. It's not something I would listen to much.
Yeah.
Yeah, so first off, again, I cannot fucking believe that I sat here and said that Ronnie Radke was in Bless the Fall. You remember you talking about pissing your pants? Like, I just want to crawl in a fucking hole, man. But again,
I mean,
like
I could edit it out,
No,
but
no,
I think it's,
no,
I think
no,
it's
no.
I think it's going to be a lot better for
we are
us
not
to
editing
leave it
that
in
out.
there.
A man has, I said it last
Take
week.
him with all his flaws.
A man has to know his limitations, and a man has to admit when he was wrong, and I fucked up. So, again, with my deepest apologies for being a fake fan, I I actually really like this song. So, he starts with this fucking, it's a cool little rap. He's hitting some bars, rapping, and then he goes into like Eminem rap god mode, and he's like rapping
Yeah,
really
it
fucking
was
fast.
cool.
And I actually was like, what, like on iTunes or Apple Music, whatever, you can watch the lyrics and you can like look at the lyrics and shit. And I was watching it, and he's fucking spitting, and I'm like, okay. And then he breaks into that fucking like almost like a choir, like I can't control the monsters in like that
Yeah,
part.
yeah.
And I'm like, okay. And then it goes in that real upbeat fucking rock feel. And then it goes from rap to rock to metalcore to fucking death metal.
Yep.
Like it's like this constant like build up progression.
It's a build up.
Well,
When he says "Watch the world burn" and the music video, that fucking Catholic priest just bursts into flames, and it's like that there's fucking dive bombs with that killer ass tone, and I'm like, oh fuck, I'm losing my shit. And then the outro for the song is like straight up guttural growls, like fucking like a real heavy metalcore death metal vibe, and I thought it was brilliant the way the song was constructed. Again, it's not something that I'm going to listen to every day, but I thought the song itself was brilliant.
Yeah, and I guess what I was going to say, because we talk music, 3-4 times a week together in a group chat.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm sick of, even being the biggest metalcore fan that there is, to me, and I could be wrong, but I know we've had this conversation, everything sounding sludgy, muddy, and the same as of late. I'm very appreciative that was not.
It wasn't. No, it was completely different.
That.
Yeah.
And I appreciate people trying to break out of that mold nowadays.
Do something different.
Because we need something different, or at least I do right now. Or I need Polaris to come out with a new album.
Yeah,
Shout out Polaris.
Shout out Polaris, please.
Yep.
Everybody that follows me on TikTok knows they're my number one. So
nobody touches them. I
If
don't
it
care
ain't
what you
Polaris,
have to
it's
say.
dog
Nobody.
shit.
what did I
touches
say?
them.
If it ain't Polaris, it's dog shit. So, but yeah, so overall, I think it's a brilliant song. I think it is very unique. And again, this is not the first time that Falling Universe has done that. That Ronnie Radke has done this kind of rap metal thing. It's not the first at all. But the way that song progresses it goes through 4 or 5 different fucking genres in one song, and the music video is incredible, and the production's great. The guitar tone is killer. It's a really cool song, and I really like it. So I hope that whoever sent in that request is they didn't want me to mention their username on here, so I won't do it. But I hope that satisfies your
They don't want to get canceled.
Yeah,
either.
they don't want to. So another
Wait, is it pronounced Polaris? I think it is.
Polaris.
Yeah,
I mean, that's how they pronounce it.
Yeah.
Polaris.
Yeah.
I'm gonna keep calling it Polaris.
Just
So-
just search the 4-wheeler. I promise it'll change your life.
Oh shit, that's funny. So we have another TikTok request from Janet. She is at Colts Unlimited fan _
They gonna get CJ?
She wants. I mean,
Wrong podcast.
I would be all right if CJ went to the Colts. But
We're gonna start a sports podcast as well. Heads up, y'all.
Heads up, yeah.
I will
So
not be part of that.
Janet wants to know what our take on Limp Bizkit is, and not just Limp Bizkit in general. So, Preston, I'll let you go first again, bro.
All right. So
All right.
I have loved Limp Bizkit since the day I heard of them when I was a very young kid. Was originally into hip hop when I was a kid.
This motherfucker used to wear an Allen Iverson jersey.
shit.
This gentleman is white, so let me just go ahead and throw that out first.
Now I'm a metalhead.
He used to wear white Air Force Ones and Allen Iverson jersey and some like fucking buckle jeans or some shit to school every day.
No, it was G Unit jeans.
G
because
Unit
50
jeans.
Cent was my guy.
Go ahead.
Hey, we all go through phases, as we
Dude,
all
I painted my
do.
fingernails black for a period of time. So
We
I
all
get
go
it. Go
through
ahead.
phases. No, so I grew up. Very influential part in my life when it comes to music was my dad. Reason being, and I don't want to give a big story, but Dad was into everything. Growing up, and I'm sure a lot of people can say this, they thought their dad was the coolest person on earth.
Yeah. Oh,
Right.
Me too, man. I get it.
But the biggest thing was his influence on me when it come to music.
Mm-hmm.
My dad was into hip hop. He was into R&B. He was into metal. He was into hair metal. He was into new metal. I was a big new metal fan. So when I just remember being a kid and hearing Limp Bizkit, and because I was into hip hop, played sports, and if you're familiar with basketball at the time, early 2000s, hip hop and basketball still are, but really was tied
It
together.
was complete. I
It
mean,
was at the
because
hip.
of Allen Iverson. But
Yeah,
go ahead.
it was at the hip. And to me, just the way Limp Bizkit put it all together with the heavier stuff and what they did, I loved it. You know, Limp Bizkit, Linkin Park, a lot of that stuff. But and I know there's a bunch of shit talk out there about Limp Bizkit. I guess me and Tyler have had these conversations as to why. But because I have ADD really bad, I don't remember why everybody shit talks
I don't either.
Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, as simple as it sounds, I've always loved Limp Bizkit.
Yeah.
Always loved Limp Bizkit.
Well, people talk shit about Limp Bizkit because of Fred Durst.
Well,
And
I know
reason
Jesse
being,
James doesn't like him.
again,
What's
for the
that?
5th time. Reason being,
I mean, from what I've heard and what I've kind of seen through documentaries and stuff, the dude's kind of a fucking douchebag.
okay.
But I mean, if you think about it, like it was almost like ICP. You know, you knew who the fucking Juggalo is,
Yeah.
and so you see people that dress
Car
up
full
like
of fat chicks.
That song changed my life.
So
Fuck
you know,
Hey, I seen them with POD and somebody else, but it was one hell of a show a long time
Oh,
ago.
man.
but yeah, you got Fred Durst just had a style of his own, you know, with his own fashion and all that kind of stuff, and it was very much like, I don't know, that, you know, Vanilla Ice kind of feel, you know, dude who's white as shit dressing up like
He's not.
he's not.
Yeah.
And
That was me
I mean,
when
that's
I was a kid.
that's
White
fine.
Iverson,
I don't
bro.
care. I don't care what the hell you wear, but like, I guess he's kind of a douchebag. But you know what I'll say about Limp Bizkit is they're fucking awesome, because
Love it.
Yeah.
people will talk shit about Fred Durst, but that dude don't give a fuck.
No, he don't fucking care. No.
He don't give a shit,
No.
and he is true to himself. With
And he's still the same dude today that he was in
Oh, yeah.
1997. Like,
And-
straight up.
Yeah, he is so true to himself, and that's honestly how most people should be, but they're not. You know, they're caught up in what everyone else thinks of me, and I
Yeah.
should act like this or I should act like that. And he just doesn't care. He's going to do what he wants to do and the way he wants to do it. And you know, I love Limp Bizkit and I love their music. It's obviously that mix of hip hop and rock and metal. They were one of the biggest nu metal bands that ever existed, and their story is kind of interesting, and Fred's story is kind of interesting, where I had seen on a documentary where it was Korn that kind of somewhat discovered him. I guess they were playing a show and he showed up and was like trying to give them all free tattoos and shit.
Uh-huh.
And they went, I guess, back to his place or something, and he gave one of them a really shitty tattoo or something. But, you know, guys from Korn didn't give a shit. But the impact that Limp Bizkit had on the music world was huge. And Fred Durst himself, I mean, he discovered a lot of bands. Like, he brought, from my understanding, he brought Stained up. He brought Puddle of Mud up.
I remember.
Like,
I'm starting to remember this now.
it got to a point, like, if he was involved with your band, you were going somewhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's the impact that he had at that time. And I mean, yeah, I guess with Limp Bizkit, their style was awesome. They didn't give a fuck. They don't care if you like them or not. Dad Vibes was a jam, and fuck everybody that says otherwise.
What I just found out the other day, and I can't remember where or how, they were one of the first bands at the time. Well, not the first bands.
You said one of.
Yeah, but like they were using 7-strings on their heavier stuff, and I had no clue.
Jackson's, I believe.
I don't know, but they were using 7-string guitars
Well, I believe
early
new
on,
metal,
and I had no clue.
like a lot of the new metal bands were really some of the first to make 7-string.
Yeah,
really
yeah. Of
popular.
course, you had Korn doing their thing. At
I
the
think
time,
Korn was around for like 4 or 6 years or something before Limp Bizkit
Yeah,
really
yeah.
took off.
Yeah, so I guess my take on Limp Bizkit is not much different than your guys's. You know, in the same vein of what you said, Tyler, is, you know, and I said it last week, I'm always trying to break the mold, right? Meaning, you know, just like Fred Durst was like, you know, he's wearing flat bills backwards, he's got baggy pants on, he's wearing Air Force Ones and rolled up sleeve flannels, he's got this hip hop vibe, and he's in a, you know, a new metal or rap metal band, if you will. You know, I always, you know, felt like I could relate to that because I'm this quote unquote redneck or whatever you want to call it, you know.
Country bumpkin,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
sure, country bumpkin, whatever you want to call it, that wears camo.
we're from the woods, baby.
That wears in the woods. The people on TikTok will get that reference, but wears camo most days, boots and jeans. I mean, I literally my whole life has been on the farm and in agriculture, and my favorite genre of music is metal. I fucking hate subgenres, but metalcore.
Yes, right.
So I'm a fucking metalhead,
Yep.
and I've always, you know, like last night, I come to the show, I'm wearing boots and jeans, I've got a Real Tree fishing shirt on and a Huey hat on, and I'm the only motherfucker there that looks like that because I'm
Hell
trying.
yeah.
I'm trying to, you know, I don't give a fuck what people think about, you know, what the fuck's this redneck doing at a Norma Jean show. When we went to the Norma Jean show, I had a fucking camo Cabela sweatshirt on. So I related to Fred Durst in that sense of breaking that mold of, oh, you have to look a certain way to, and I can't remember his name, but like the lead guitarist for Killswitch is the same way.
Yeah.
And, you know, motherfucker's wearing a Donald Duck hat and short shorts and a tank top playing, you know, some of the
He's
heaviest.
got the pizza guitar.
Yeah, playing some of the heaviest shit you ever hear. But so I relate to people like that. And as far as their music goes, man, that shit was locker room jams, dude. Like that was, I mean, their song "Break Stuff" is the definition of their music. Their music made you want to break shit. So
I mean, they broke a whole festival.
yeah, Woodstock '99.
Yeah.
Hey, they got some ballads too, man.
They
They
set
got some
the
ballads.
lawn on fire. So I appreciate, and it's similar to what I said about, you know, what Falling in Reverse did with this new song. It's different, and I appreciate the balls it takes to branch out and do something different because, you know, Limp Bizkit was very similar, somewhat similar, I guess, to the Beastie Boys, right? Who were really big in the '80s, and they
Yeah.
were in that rap rock
Yeah.
kind of vein where it's party music. We got guitars, but we're rapping. We're bad boys. We're white bad boys.
It's like the best party music there was.
for
dude.
sure. So and
that and punk rock.
yeah. So and that is kind of what Limp Bizkit wanted to do, and I appreciate the shit out of them for doing it and doing it at such a successful level and being as popular as they are. Fuck, they just put out a new album. They're still going.
Yep.
So, Janet, to answer your question, I think we're all pretty big Limp Bizkit fans.
Yeah.
And anybody that's talking shit about them, I can assure you they do not give a fuck.
Yeah,
Yep.
and if you are talking shit about them, you know, speaking of that, you know, Woodstock '99, Woodstock was like the biggest music festival there was at that time, and to be single-handedly blamed for the atrocities that happened at that fucking
That's pretty
festival,
fucking dope.
that's metal as
That's
fuck.
metal as fuck, dude. I mean, that is
What metal band has ever
Yep.
accomplished such a feat?
metal as fuck.
You can't talk shit about them.
No, I mean,
can't.
you can, but I promise you it falls on deaf ears. 'Cause
It does.
nobody gives a fuck. So, I still have Limp Bizkit on my playlist, and if Nookie comes on, I'm fucking
Yeah.
flipping people off when I'm driving. I'm fucking losing
I lean my
shit.
seat back all the way.
Yes,
to where
and you're bobbing.
I'm touching the fucking car seat in the back, and I'm not
And you're
giving a
bobbing.
shit.
You're bobbing.
And just remember, I am 5 foot, about 6.5, so I can't see over the steering wheel regardless.
Yeah.
But I do not give a shit, man.
Yes.
Do not care.
So I love Limp Bizkit. Janet, thank you for sending in the request. I appreciate your interaction on TikTok there. Boys, it's time for our favorite segment. It's time for
Ooh,
Heavy Metal Hot Takes.
I love a hot.
Shit,
So
I'm gonna piss somebody off.
we're gonna we're gonna hold off on pissing people off because we're gonna start off with the one that we get from TikTok. So I posted a TikTok today talking about, hey, we're doing a heavy metal hot takes segment, and I wanted to get some interaction from you guys and some requests, and I got several, and we kind of narrowed it down to two, and we ended up agreeing on one. So this comes from another dude called Josh. And
What's up, Josh?
And
What's
Josh's
up?
heavy metal hot take is Led Zeppelin and Alice in Chains are the two, and these are his words, are the two best groups of all time, and it ain't close. So I asked him for some context. I said, are you referring to talent? Are you referring to influence? And he said he's referring to talent. So let's get your guys' thoughts on Led Zeppelin and Alice in Chains being the two most talented groups in the rock and metal genre. I can go first on this one if you guys would like.
Go first,
Okay.
man.
Yeah, I
You're-
think
so-
I'll piggyback.
You've been waiting.
Off you.
You've been
I
waiting
have
to
been
talk
waiting.
on
So
this.
I have been waiting. So, all right, Josh. I'm
Of
not
course,
going
this is all subjective.
It is. This
You
is,
know.
and again, and I've said this on TikTok, and yet it doesn't seem to matter to a lot of people because I'm a boomer core gatekeeper. So, Led Zeppelin, right? In my opinion, you know, when you think of the '60s, you had the Beatles in the early '60s. You know, merging into as you progress through that decade, you're coming into Pink Floyd, The Who, and then you have Led Zeppelin come along. And in my opinion, Led Zeppelin was completely different than all those bands before. So, while most people consider Black Sabbath the pioneer for heavy metal, I somewhat consider Led Zeppelin the pioneer to them. Jimmy Page is widely considered one of the top, 15, 20, 10, some consider him top 5 greatest guitarists of all time. And he was that. He was incredibly talented. He was incredibly inventive. He wrote some of the coolest riffs of that time in the late 60s into the 70s. With some incredible, the Stairway to Heaven solo is amazing, and still holds up to this day. Anytime I hear it, I'm like, oh, I know what that is, and I'm only 27 years old. So the fact that song has had that reach, that band has had that reach. Would I agree that Led Zeppelin is one of the most talented? No, I would not. Would I agree that they're one of the most influential? Abso-fucking-lutely, they are, and they are still incredibly popular. And not just among, the folks that were listening to that music as it was being released at that time, but to people like me that grew up listening to bands that were influenced by Led Zeppelin. When I was in 7th, 8th grade, I had all kinds of Led Zeppelin on my podcast, on my playlist. And I was a big fan of them. And I still think that they jam. So, and they're well known for having one of the best drummers of all time in Robert Bonham. Roger Bonham. And their span of influence is incredibly wide. But I do not think that they're one of the most talented of all time when it comes down to it. Because if you listen to what some of the bands do today,
insane.
Individual artists.
Jimmy Page is not playing some riffs that John Brown from Monuments is playing today.
Yeah.
So, but again, I get it. It's a different time. It's a different age. So that's how I feel about Led Zeppelin. Alice in Chains. Boy, I'm about to be a cuck so hard because I fucking love Alice in Chains.
We all do. We'll preface it with we all do.
So, do I feel that Alice in Chains is one of the most talented bands of all time? Yes, I fucking do. And the reason for that is because you basically had two frontmen in that band, right? The way that Jerry Cantrell and Lane Staley were able to harmonize their vocals and create such a... these boys are going to nut in their pants.
Oh, God.
So,
Jesus Christ.
I'm telling you, the way that they were able to harmonize their vocals and create such a... You hear a fucking Alice in Chains song, you know exactly... you hear 3 fucking notes and you know exactly who it is.
But you also hear that sludgy guitar tone and you know exactly who it is, too.
Friedman, baby.
Yep.
They are so unique to their genre because they are considered grunge. And a lot of their stuff is heavier in my mind than what typical quote-unquote grunge is.
Mm-hmm.
And Alice in Chains was heavily influenced by Metallica. So they draw a lot of what they do from that. And that's why you hear, Jerry has such heavy guitar tones. He's got some really scaly solos, but their vocals were just so unique, and they were able to write songs like, The Rooster about Vietnam War, and just different topics of discussion in their songs. And to me, it was just so different than what a lot of bands were doing at that time. And I said it last week, and I'll say it again. Nirvana's fucking overrated.
Yes.
And they were extremely popular at that time. And you had Alice in Chains doing the shit that they were doing. And I'm just mind-boggled that anyone would consider Nirvana better than Alice in Chains. So my position, Josh, no, I don't think Led Zeppelin is one of the most talented bands of all time. Yes, I think that Alice in Chains is.
Okay, so
Sorry that was long-winded, but
it's all good, man. So I guess we'll start with Led Zeppelin. So do I listen to much of their music? No, but I grew up with it. Long story short, do I think they're the greatest or one of the most talented bands of all time? I would say no, but they were certainly the most, one of the most talented bands of their time.
Yeah.
And they really were incredibly influential. I mean, you have a band that was spitting out fucking metal before metal was even a thing. I mean, listening to some of the stuff that they put out, I'm like, man, if they actually had good tones like we have today, back then, I mean, they would have been ripping this shit. Like, this shit would be straight banging all day. But, the technology was somewhat limited. Distortion on guitars was kind of just becoming a thing.
It was more fuzz.
It was more of a fuzz
very
thing.
fuzzy.
Yeah.
Unless you were Jimi Hendrix.
I mean, literally, it's like right after, bands like The Who, where dude just decided he wanted his guitar to sound like shit and started scratching his fucking amp up and stuff. Because he wanted it to sound,
at the end of the show.
Yeah.
He wanted it to sound gritty.
That's metal as fuck.
And so, yeah, it's so fucking metal as fuck.
That's going to be a new segment, by the way. That's metal as fuck.
Yeah. But, they were doing stuff back then that really pioneered the future of rock and metal. And their songs were pretty well written, in my opinion. And individually, they were all really good musicians. But as far as comparing them to all time, like that's a stretch for any artist or any band to really speak in terms of all time. And looking at, like you said, comparing them to what's going on today, like musicians today have been under a lot of pressure because almost everything's already been done.
Mm-hmm.
And so we keep pushing the boundaries, and we keep, pushing the envelope, and what can we do? How can we make something that is different, that hasn't already been done? And then you have a band like Greta Van Fleet that's like, I'll just copy Led Zeppelin. That's fine.
Hey, them boys are talented, though.
Don't get me started.
Hey,
Please don't get me started. I want to punch that little curly head fuck in the mouth. Don't get me started.
But, no, I do not agree that they're one of the greatest of all times in terms of talent. But I agree in influence. They were huge. As far as Alice in Chains, yeah.
Yeah.
So to talk about them, look,
metal as fuck.
Their bass player is a huge influence on me in the way that I play bass. Because he's not one of those bass players that just play exactly what the guitar, the bass note of what the guitar chords are, and just kind of ride one or two notes through the whole song.
You literally have him tattooed on your arm.
I do.
It's about the groove, baby.
Yeah, it's about the groove, and that, he really pulls out the groove of a song, and he pulls out, really interesting melodies that go along with the song perfectly. You have the guitar work from old Jerry that dude was a bad motherfucker. He's still
is.
a bad
Still
motherfucker.
a bad son of a bitch.
And then you have Lane Staley with his more aggressive, raspy vocals. And for me, that's what I gravitate towards most of the time, because that's more of my style of singing, is more raspy,
Raw.
And we talked about that last week.
Yeah,
too.
we did. And then as you talked about the harmonies.
Oh my God.
The harmonies
Yeah.
are unfucking real, dude. Like, it's hard as shit to, have your lead singer singing one thing and you as the backup vocalist singing basically the same words but with different harmonies, because you just automatically want to go with what you're hearing.
And it creates this.
You have to absolutely ignore everything else going around.
And Jerry's playing guitar while he's doing this, and it creates this ambience, right?
Oh,
This
man, that's
their
amazing.
their vocals, like, God, this is gonna sound so fucking cringy, but their vocals surround you, like it's just an
Yeah. It's a
enveloping.
wall.
It's an enveloping wall of sound, and it just kind of, it almost feels like you are on a different plane of fucking existence. and God, I know I'm sucking their dick so
It's
hard.
the
right now.
bourbon
It's okay,
talking.
man.
It's the
okay.
bourbon.
Yeah,
But
shit.
songs like No Excuses and Down in a Hole, the
Yep.
vocal harmonies that they're spitting out is fantastic. And their drummer's not a bitch either.
No,
like
not at all.
he's very competent in what he's doing back there.
But Mike Inez, their bassist, is a fucking dude.
He is he is fantastic. But with all that said, as we talked about a little bit on the last episode, I'd really pay attention to the song, and I listen very carefully to how songs are put together and how different individual parts come together as a whole, and how there's so many different ways to do it to make it interesting. And they are absolutely amazing at songwriting. I mean,
Yep.
there's almost no one out there and in all time that writes songs like Alice in Chains did. And
Mhm.
am I in love with every song they've put out? No. But you have some of these major, hit songs that they put out that are just unfucking matched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Period. Just, there's no match to them. So, yes, I agree that Alice in Chains, in terms of talent, is one of the greatest of all time.
Would you say because of just simply songwriting?
I would say, as individual musicians, they are really good.
Mhm.
Are any of them greatest of all time? No.
Right.
But in terms of how they bring it all together and
Yep.
they write songs and, make it all happen, they are the fucking goats.
Yeah, I mean, I don't really have much else to add on the two, but what I would say at the end of the day, especially on I guess a mass level, it's about the song,
Yeah.
right? Both of those bands are incredibly good songwriters, or
Mhm.
well, I'm assuming they both wrote their songs, by themselves, but
Yeah.
just songwriting in general.
And song structure.
Yeah,
I mean, yeah.
yeah. I mean, maybe it's simpler, but what I'm appreciative of about the two bands is their level of songwriting. They make good songs. At the end of the day, that's what it's all
Well,
about.
and I said it last week, and I don't mean to be repetitive, but in my opinion, Nutshell is the greatest song ever written.
Woo!
And I mean,
It shows how beautiful simplicity can be.
Yeah. Yep.
that's the best way I've ever heard that song described.
Yep.
And the thing about Nutshell, when I think of like, wow, this is one of the greatest songs ever written, is how many fucking times can I hear it and I'm still like,
Never
oh
get
my
old.
God, this is incredible. Is it a never skip? And Nutshell will never ever be a skip for
Yep.
me.
Well, think about it, man. The song Nutshell is essentially about life.
It is
Life in a
100%.
nutshell.
Yes,
And
and it's really
that
sad.
concept is is fucking phenomenal. And how else could you wrap up life in a nutshell in a short song than the way they did it?
And perfectly, and it gives you almost an existential crisis when you listen to it, to the point of, wow, life is so. And when you think about, you know, the tragedy of Lane Staley and how short his life. I mean, I'm 27. Preston, you're 27. Tyler,
Yep.
you're just barely over 27. So it's like, and that's when
I'm
you know,
28.
Yeah, it's okay.
I'll be 29 in a couple months.
It's okay. We'll just. I said barely. You're putting yourself.
I don't know how to count.
So, but you think about the fact that Lane's the one that, you know, wrote this song, or at least I'm 99% positive that Lane's the one that wrote that song, and he, you know, actually I think they all wrote it, but he is able to describe how fragile and cumbersome life is in 3 minutes.
If I can't be my own, I'd feel
Better
dead.
off dead.
And
That's
that
something-
right there is the line.
It evokes emotions, and that's what I feel about. Like, when I think of a great song, and you know, good songs are songs that can make me headbang or lose my shit.
Mm-hmm.
Great songs evoke emotion.
Yeah.
And Nutshell has always been one, and that's not the only Alice in Chains song that does that for me, but I'm just saying, in general, Nutshell evokes such emotion in me personally that I'm like, if I am feeling a certain type of way and I can play this song, it's going to bring me to a different realization of emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And I am so grateful and feel so much respect for what those guys do and have done throughout their career. So, and I know you feel, you know, the same way.
Yeah, well, and you had mentioned it earlier, but the coolest thing to me, and it may be why I gravitated toward Alice in Chains compared to any other grudge band, I
Yep.
would say. Did I say grudge? I meant grunge.
Grunge. Sorry, at
Um,
least you didn't say Ronnie Radke was in Bless the Ball.
Hey, it's bourbon talking. Because they were
sponsored by Buffalo Trace.
they felt so different, and
Yeah.
maybe I couldn't put a pulse on it at the time, but because I was into the heavier stuff, because of what Metallica did for me as a listener of
Yep.
music, it filled a void. Even though I liked grunge music anyways, it was just that extra push that I needed. And of course, once again, it comes back to their actual songwriting. It was immaculate.
So, Josh, I hate to disappoint you with the three of us all agreeing that Led Zeppelin is not one of the most talented bands of all time, but that Alice in Chains was. I'm sure that's not the answer you were looking for, but that's why it's called a hot take, brother, and it's an opinion, and you're allowed to think and feel whatever the fuck you want, and you're not wrong no matter what you think.
We're going to have
You're
people
not
on our
wrong.
doorstep.
It's a fucking opinion. Yeah, well, you should see my TikTok comment section. So, now it's time for our heavy metal hot takes.
I have a great question that I'm really interested in your guys' opinion on.
Well, mine is going to piss you off, so go for it.
Let's go with yours first.
Oh,
I feel
God.
like getting mad.
Okay. Nickelback is easily one of the most overhated bands for absolutely no fucking reason. They are incredible songwriters. They can make songs that make you want to party, that make you want to fuck, that make you want to cry. They can do it all. They're really talented. They put on a great live show. And I'm just not quite sure how a joke on a radio show so many years ago made them the butt of so many jokes. But yet they're multi-millionaires with multi-platinum albums. So yes, I believe that Nickelback is easily the most overhated band of all time. And this is going to fire Tyler up a little bit. Go for it.
So, I fucking hate Nickelback.
Nut!
I fucking hate Nickelback. When I hear a Nickelback song come on, I want to drive a car over a cliff with me in it, and I'll be smiling the whole fucking way down. Because I will know that I will no longer have to listen to that Nickelback song.
You gotta tell the audience why you feel.
All
that
right,
way.
so here's here's why I feel this way. So when I was very young and I was getting into rock and I was starting to play guitar and stuff, I enjoyed Nickelback because when they first came out, you know, with like Photograph,
The Curb
and,
album, shit like that. Leader of
yeah.
Men.
that earlier
Tell your
album.
friends not to
Trying to think of
I
some of the other
will.
songs that were on it that were actually really good. But
You're thinking of The Road Less Traveled, I think, is it All the Wrong Reasons?
I cannot remember.
Quick Google search. I think it's
Quick Google search.
All the Right Reasons. Yeah.
Let me see.
We don't know what we're talking about.
Car on the Front. Is that the album you're thinking of?
Yeah, Far Away, If
Yeah.
Everyone Cared.
Yeah.
Was
all that
Saving
kind of
Me on
stuff.
that
So-
album?
Yes.
Yeah.
So being young and impressionable and, you know, not being very educated in music, I enjoyed quite a bit of Nickelback. They were easily the biggest rock band on the scene at the time.
Correct.
And I really kind of gravitated towards them because at that time, I really didn't know where the fuck to go to find better music. Like, the only music I got was what was coming from the radio. And
Well,
shit.
back then we couldn't stream.
Right.
Because we're fucking old.
And even then, I really didn't mess with YouTube much. YouTube was just becoming a thing.
Yeah, it was just memes at that time.
Yeah.
We didn't even know what fucking memes were, but that's all YouTube was.
But as I got more into music and I got more educated on music and I became a better musician, I realized that a lot of their shit was the same. I mean,
Sure.
there was actually a YouTube video that went around where they dubbed like 3 Nickelback songs on top of each other, and it was literally the same fucking song. They dubbed 3 songs from Nickelback into one, and it all worked. Like, they didn't
Yeah,
know
because they're
anything.
fucking great, bro.
But it goes back to what I was saying last episode about rewriting the same song just because it kind of fits a formula of what works. And can I hate on them for their success? No. Would I love to be a Nickelback? Probably.
Yes.
I'd get
Think of the
laid a
women.
lot more.
Think of the women.
So
yeah.
we wouldn't be having this podcast in this, rinky-dink garage. We'd be in a fucking palace that I would be able to buy
Listen, this
solely
is a sanctuary,
for the,
bro. This is a sanctuary.
Yeah, but if I was a Nickelback, I'd be able to buy like a fucking
One hell of a
mansion
sanctuary.
just for the podcast.
Yeah, not just for
So
recording
that'd be
streaming
pretty
evidence songs.
dope. But musically, I think they sold out, and that's okay.
Sure.
It's totally okay. That was a decision they made, or that's, they got good at writing the one style and they just stuck with it. But man, I can't understand how a band like that gets so much fame, because I don't really think that they are super talented. However,
Songwriting.
I will say this about them. The song Animals,
Oh,
That guitar tone?
ooh.
the fucking vocals, dude.
Yeah. Yep.
You pretty much have to do that whole, it's like a bridge or something, and he just goes for like a whole minute, seemingly on one fucking breath. And I've tried to sing it myself, and I realized there's no space.
Is it
To
I'm
breathe.
driving back on black, just got my license back. I got this feeling in my, is it that?
Pretty
piece
much,
of-
yeah. And there's no chance really to breathe, so it's all on one breath, it seems.
I mean, Chad Kroeger is his vocals, and it's so like his pitch and the key in which he sings in is so hard to find, because he has a very unique voice.
he does. He has a great rock voice.
Oh
I gotta-
yeah,
I gotta
Yeah.
it's just
say.
like
Yeah.
Chris Daughtry. You
And
know,
then-
I mean, it's
Yep.
very similar.
So I'll give them, credit where credit is due vocally. That shit is incredibly difficult, what he does in that song. And then, I hate to say it, but their guitar tones are fucking gnarly.
So what he's
Yeah.
saying is he a little bit likes Nickelback. I mean,
I fucking hate them, but I don't hate them that much.
if animals comes on and you hear that fucking riff with that tone,
He's ready to fucking fight.
he's ready to fight. And
mean,
not
that's-
because he hates Nickelback, because the fucking song is gnarly.
I guess.
Okay. So you hate him. That's fine. That's fair. But you still admit that they've got a couple songs that make you feel a certain type of way.
Yeah.
So,
I
okay.
guess.
Pete, what's your...
I don't know that I have a bunch of feedback. I mean, in regards to the hot take, not that I dislike Nickelback, not that I absolutely love Nickelback. I guess I'm just indifferent.
Sure.
Like, there was a time and place for that for me at one time, because I became a metalhead as the years have went on. It's just something I don't gravitate toward anymore.
And I want to preface this by saying it's not like I listen to Nickelback, on a daily basis. I don't. But if one of their songs that I like comes on, I'm going to jam it. And I just appreciate.
And I'm going to kill myself.
Yeah, Tyler's going to kill himself. I'm going to jam. I'm going to jam while he kills himself. So.
And he's such an asshole, he'll play it at my funeral.
I'll show up at your funeral just to make sure you're dead.
Fuck you.
Damn.
That's metal as fuck.
That's metal as fuck, dude. What would you expect? So, is Nickelback something I listen to every day? No. Are they unfairly overhated? Yes, they are.
Yeah, I agree.
So that was kind of my whole preface, or my whole point, is that they're overhated for no reason. Yes, you can hate that
There's a reason.
Well, expand on that.
I gave you my reasons. They suck.
Okay, fair enough. But you can't hate, and you said it, you admit it, you can't hate on their success. They found their niche and they roll with it.
Here's where their hatred stems from, and I'm man enough to admit it. Jealousy. It stems from jealousy.
Damn straight.
I'm jealous that I'm probably a better musician than most of them, but I'll never see that kind of fame.
Right.
But like, that's cool though. You know, I'll stick with my local shows where I play at 12:30.
Where we bitch about a 25-minute set.
We only got to play 5 fucking songs.
They're going to get paid like $20 million to play 5 songs in a stadium.
Yeah.
It's fine. I'm comfortable with where I'm at in life.
Okay, that's fair. Well, what's your? You said you got something good to talk about. So what's your heavy metal hot take, bro?
So my heavy metal hot take, and I thought of this the other day. I'm really interested in hearing everyone's take on it because I feel like my take on it is somewhat interesting. How do you feel about love ballads?
Are you talking like Love Song by Tesla, Every Rose Has Its Thorn, Poison, like that type of shit? Because, bro, I'll get down on some hair metal.
Look,
I cry
so
every
not
time.
necessarily hair metal. I'm talking on a very, very broad, very general terms. What is your take on love ballads?
Okay. So I'm going to approach this I'm going to start with the hair metal angle, right? So there were so many, I mean, every hair metal band had one. So I grew up listening to love ballads. And I always liked them. And there's some that are happy, there's some that are sad. Like Alone Again by Dokken has one of the most incredible hair. Now, George Lynch, lead guitarist for Dokken, is a virtuoso. He was in that Randy Rhoads realm of this motherfucker was a
Big
prodigy.
On me and you.
Yeah, absolutely. George Lynch was a huge influence on why I started playing guitar. Dokken is my favorite hair metal band, my favorite band of the 80s of that genre, easily. So, when the song was written and produced well, and it was had a more of a musical message than a lyrical message to me, I really gravitated towards those songs because those type of guitar riffs, the clean riffs in the verses, the heavy hitting solos, that type of shit, the real soaring choruses, that shit makes, I don't give a fuck who you are, that shit makes you feel a certain type of way. It makes you think about shit. So when you say, how do you feel about love ballads, I love them. I do. And I'm definitely not afraid to admit it. Because when Alone Again by Dokken comes on, I'm ripping the fucking knob off because Don Dawkins just screaming that shit and George Lynch is ripping. And I'm losing my fucking mind. Wild Mick Brown, I'm going nuts. So I love Ballad.
He's leaning the seat back to that shit,
Yeah.
man.
Look, and then you have like bands like Boys of Fall and stuff
Oh,
that
my-
sing about love.
Woo!
So tell
Make
me,
me cry.
tell me about it.
Dude, okay, so we brushed over it real quick last week, but we're
Hey,
going to
wait,
talk
real
about
quick, y'all can thank me for sending you Distance that one day that it happened.
Thank you.
The one day that it happened.
It was built up.
So there's a band called Boys of Fall. We talked about them last week. They're not quite metalcore. They're not quite. I don't know what they are. They're very unique. If you ever listen to Issues, they're kind of similar to Issues, but without the techno,
Well, without
Shit.
the genty
the
stuff.
genty style of
Yeah.
AJ. Yeah,
Yeah.
AJ's kind of the genty style. But anyways, so Boys of Fall is one of our favorite bands. I think they're
Mhm. Yeah.
very big in our group. They have a song called Distance, and
We just went down a rabbit hole, y'all.
yeah, we did. And Tyler was pretty confident that he was going to send us down one. So I was
Yep.
hoping to keep us under 2 hours. I
Nope.
don't know if I'm going to be able to do it. So Distance is.
Poor time management, just like that show last night.
See, this is why we can't get done in under 2 hours.
It's fine.
Don't get mad at me, okay?
We're getting deep to finish this bitch out.
So Distance is, in my opinion, one of the most beautiful songs in the sense of the whole song is a build-up, right? And you start off with this really pretty simple, clean guitar riff, and there's an underlying solo in it. There's a really ambient feel to the sound, and the vocals are very poppy, and it just kind of gets you in this. The lyrics are sad, and it gets you in this depressive, almost pure sadness state. And then as the song goes along, it starts to build, and it's basically this guy is letting a woman go, right? And he's getting the whole song, he's getting more confidence in letting her go. And it is, you feel like I'm getting deep. God damn it, I'm getting deep. You feel like you're there with
He's gonna
him
cry.
as he is getting this confidence to let this lover go. And it gets into this metalcore vibe where he's screaming, and you're like, fuck that bitch. Let you go, drift away into nothing, because I don't know you now. That line is a big part of the song, and it's just, and he screams it, and you're like, get the fuck out, bitch. You just go on this ride with him, and every fucking time this song gets sent in the group chat, we all instantly go, why the fuck do you have to do
It's like
this?
one random time a week.
Why'd you have to do it?
Random ass
Because
time a
one of
week.
us, we listen to so much fucking music, one of us is going to get it come on the shuffle.
And
And
we
when
all
it comes
drive
on
for-
the shuffle, you send it in the group chat.
And we're
Just
all
have
in the
to.
car, but we all drive a lot for
We
a
drive a
living.
lot for work.
So
we
we're
have unspoken rules in the group chat.
Yeah.
You have to send it.
yeah.
If distance comes up, you have to send
At least one person is in their car when you send it to them,
And we don't say a word with it. We just send it.
and they're in their zone
By themselves.
And I change somebody's life once a week.
I'm telling you, it don't matter what kind of mood you're in. The minute you hit play on that and you
It
hear
don't
the
matter.
first two notes,
It doesn't matter.
I guess the first three notes, because there's a downstroke with the two up picks, but you hear the first three notes of that song and you're like, yep, this is where we're going.
This is how.
And you are pounding the fucking steering wheel. I mean, losing your mind.
crying
Just
down the fucking
cry-
highway. Why'd you do it?
Get the fuck out, bitch!
Yes. You go on that journey with him. And the music video is even worse. You're like, man, fuck that bitch. By the start of it, you're like, man, why'd we break up? Why? I love you. And then
Yes.
at the end, you're like, get the fuck out.
Speaking of which, it's like, yeah, my man's one of these guys must have really, gotten to this song. Now I can't let him be alone.
No. You're
It-
there with him.
They
You don't
got
want them
caught.
to have distance.
Yeah.
Shout out, Boys of Paul.
Shout out, boys.
That's
Ball.
just metal as
All right,
fuck.
Preston, tell me what's your take on love ballads?
Yeah. Man, I wasn't prepared for any of these hot takes, any of this stuff. So this is all off the cuff. But
Full disclosure, I showed him the show rundown before we started. So.
I told y'all earlier in the show I got ADD and forget stuff real fucking
You
quick.
remembered you have ADD, bitch.
No, so I think the reason I had always gravitated toward I guess maybe not my favorite, but always enjoyed them, because as a nerd, when it comes to playing the guitar, it was the melody. So when I heard whether it was the melody from the vocalist or the melody in the solo, it was and even because once again, I've mentioned several times, me and you guys, both metalheads, but I still to this day gravitate toward melody.
Yes.
Whether it's a melodic solo, melodic vocals, whatever it is. And in regards to love ballads, was there any melodies out there better?
No, not at all.
Melodies and harmonies, man.
Yeah, man.
And it was something that basically anybody could listen to, right?
Yeah.
You go back. I mean, you could go back further than the '80s, but just for me and in my personal experience, love ballads for me started in the '80s, and not when I was alive in the '80s because I'm not that fucking old.
You just said we were getting old.
Yeah, well, somebody called me middle-aged on TikTok today, and it's got me feeling self-conscious about my receding hairline. I'm a dad now. Give me a break. So, it was something that had a very easy listen. I'm inventing a new word.
It was very listenable.
It was very listenable. Yeah, I was going to say listenability.
Oh.
Yeah, so I invented
We're
a new
from
word.
the sticks.
Shout
we
out
told
to
y'all.
We're from
Webster
Southern
Dictionary.
Ohio,
We
okay?
told y'all.
We talk funny. So
Shout out to Webster Dictionary.
Shout out Webster.
We're gonna start a thing there.
absolutely. So they were just so easy to listen to, and then when you really listen to, it was almost like listening to two different songs, right? Because the way the songs were composed, the lyrics were incredibly important, and the way they were sung was very important, but so was the music itself. And whether that was a verse riff, a solo, a certain bass line, whatever it might be, it all had meaning in those love ballads, because those bands in the 80s put all their effort into that song. They wrote a million Round and Rounds or Shout at the Devil or whatever it might have
Still
been.
love Rat. They're my favorite.
Yeah,
hair metal
Rat's
band.
great. But
Yeah.
you get what I'm saying. Those
Yeah.
songs are a dime a dozen.
Yeah.
The love ballads are all unique, whether it's Home Sweet Home, whatever
Mhm.
whatever one it might be. I don't know that Home Sweet Home's a love ballad, but it's a ballad.
Yeah.
So they all had their own unique feel. They're all iconic because those bands put their A game into that. And even today, when I listen to some of those songs, I still get that same feeling I got when the first time I heard it when I was 12 years old or 10 years old, whatever it might be.
Yep.
So,
We didn't know shit about love.
no, didn't know shit
I love
about.
my-
But here's
I love
the
my
thing:
dog.
didn't know shit about music either, but we still jammed that shit.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was the point of those songs. So Tyler, that was God. my
Oh, we're
fucking-
not to the depths yet. We're going deeper.
Okay, all right, I'm ready.
Does anybody like a 3-hour podcast?
I
My
fucking
wife
hope
ain't
so.
good. My ass
So,
will have
hey.
to get home.
So look, I wanted to talk about it for a couple of reasons, and you guys have really touched on the one side of it.
Okay,
So
Mm.
the one
Oh,
side
he's
of it,
gone deep.
it's like a two-sided coin here.
two-parter.
Two-parter. So the first side of it is the musicality of it. So Kyler, you were talking about how these songs really invoke feeling. And
Right.
the most influential music, like you said, is music that invokes feeling. And so if you consider the message of a song, and when you are writing a song, you're really trying to take your listener down this emotional journey.
Mm-hmm.
If you are a good songwriter, that's the way
Yep.
you're thinking about
Yep.
it.
Yep.
How do I carry this person, this listener, through this emotional journey? Because you're not going to feel as much with just lyrics,
Mhm.
Correct.
right? So I can write a song, and it's easy to, for some people, it's very easy to take words and create this message with words and really just lay out there what they're feeling. For me, it's not easy. For me to put my thoughts into words is incredibly difficult. It's something I've always struggled with, and it's really hindered me throughout life.
Sure.
In many scenarios. And so when you, as a musician, one of these people that can't really just put it into words, and you're trying to figure out, how do I express how I'm feeling and help this person feel the same that I feel? And to do that with sound versus words
Yep.
is something that is so extraordinarily difficult that there is a reason that there are the few out there, as far as composers and songwriters, that are really recognized for their songwriting.
Does any song do that better than Distance? And I'm asking in a serious, to you too. Does anyone?
An amazing example, because,
Yeah.
like you said, it takes you through this emotional journey, and the lyrics are really, really well put together as well to help guide you through what that emotion is. But the music is really what's making the person feel it.
Shout out Boys of Fall.
And so,
Because of that constant progression.
because that constant progression and the melodies that they chose with the rhythms that they chose and all these musical concepts coming together to help invoke that emotion. And every song in some way should invoke an emotion, but love ballads seem to be the most common one that people relate to, because what easier emotion is there to invoke than love or the absence thereof?
And by the time, most people listen to those songs, or at least listen to them to understand them, they've all been there. Everybody's been broken up with. Everybody's broken up with somebody. Everybody's felt that kind of gain or loss. So the relatability of love ballads, or anti-love ballads, if you will, is ever present.
Yep.
Because we've all felt those emotions. So they, in my opinion, resonate in your head almost more than a song that you just think's a great song, because you felt those emotions. You can relate to that song more than you can something that's just a rager. God, I'm telling you guys,
So
the Screaming Idiots show is here to really make you think and fucking
all right,
send you to another dimension.
now we're going to the next dimension.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to flip the coin.
Okay.
Christ Almighty.
So like I said, what easier emotion is there to invoke than love or the absence thereof?
Mm-hmm.
And so this is something, what emotion drives human behavior more than love?
Hatred.
Hatred, yes.
Jealousy.
Jealous, I don't know. I would say love is probably up there. I'd say hatred really drives behavior as well.
Hatred was my number one.
Okay.
But
What do you think?
love and hatred are the two strongest emotions.
Love.
So here's the reason I thought of this the other day, and it's because I'll listen to love songs, but I don't advertise that I listen to love songs. And so, particularly for men, it's hard for us to admit those soft spots that we have.
It wasn't when I sent you guys Distance.
Yeah, but that's amongst men,
why am I
though.
crying in a club right now?
There's a difference between sharing a song because of how awesome it is musically, and then how you related to it or how you felt when you listened to it.
You remember when we come home from the bar?
Yeah, we'd come home from the bar,
Turn on
fucking
Distance.
just
And cry.
I don't. Yeah,
You boys are
It sucked.
soft.
it sucked some nights, but
It did.
with that in mind, what made me think about this is as a society, and particularly as fucking men our age, like, love isn't something that we really talk about much. And it's almost like if you are talking with your buddies all sappy and shit, like
That's gay.
that's gay.
Yeah, I mean that's
You're being gay.
yeah.
But
Canceled.
Yeah, we said gay. We're getting canceled.
I run into this dilemma as a musician and as a songwriter where I almost don't want to write songs like that because of how that's perceived. And I think a lot of it is because it's really hard to not write a sappy, corny love song. Lyrically, like, how do you fucking talk about this thing that's been talked about a million times and it not be a cheesy cliche copy of what's already been written? And then knowing that it is one of the easiest emotions to invoke into your audience, it's almost like a cheap shot.
Because you
I
know it's going to get them.
I know it's going to get them if I say even a few words related to it, because everyone deep down loves a fucking good ballad, good love ballad.
Yep.
And so it's almost like I'd be taking a cheap shot, and I've always been more hard-headed and said I want to focus on these other emotions and stuff. And if you listen to any Screaming Evidence, we have no love songs. We have no songs related to love, this brokenheartedness or this great feeling of love for someone. We don't write about it. And it's kind of along those reasons of it's kind of cheap, it's corny, it's gay, like all these different things. But I guess my question to you guys is, in that realm of things, now what do you think of love ballads and the songs that you have heard, and corny, not corny? Which ones do you really lean towards?
So first off, you as Screaming Evidence have written the opposite of a love ballad in the song called "The Debt."
That actually had nothing to do with any kind of love.
That's what I said. The opposite of a love ballad.
It's very, very,
Very dark.
hatred.
Very dark. Very hatredy. Yeah, hatred filled. Yeah. So again, man, it's just. Do I think that maybe musicians take advantage of people with love ballads? Sure, but you know what? Take advantage of me, baby. I'm here for it. I love them, and because of the emotions they evoke. Because, like you said, we as men are normally very reluctant to express any feeling of anything we feel is less than masculine. So when I hear a song, even if it's when I'm by myself in the truck and I get a song come on that makes me feel a certain way, that I can express myself in a comfortable setting without feeling like, oh, I'm soft, I'm weak, I'm not a man, whatever it is. I'm going to take advantage of that, and I'm going to jam that shit.
That song is Distance.
And that song's, you're exactly right. That song's Distance for me. That Distance is our generation's love song by Tesla. That our parents think, love will find a way. Yeah.
I'm going to have another kid to that song.
Distance or love song?
Distance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Nah.
You're going to make a sad kid because it's
Like a sad baby. I'm going to have that, I changed my mind. Sex.
I'm going to have that. I changed my mind, sex. Thank God this is marked an explicit podcast. Again, don't let your fucking toddlers listen to it. Not safe for work.
Preston,
What's up?
What do you think in that vein?
I mean, what the hell else could I say? I ain't got nothing. No, I mean, in regards to love ballads, I think I've expressed the way I feel about how they make me feel.
Yeah.
So what would you say about writing one?
We are having a interband debate on writing a love song here. Do you know how many pretty melodic riffs and solos you've written that you could fit effortlessly into a song like that?
Well, see, I feel like in regards to love ballads, how I think. It's like, all right, we're gonna write a love song. How do I make it fucking pretty?
How do I make
on
it
the damn
pretty?
guitar? Like that's my first thought. As
Yeah,
dumb
but
as
like
it
a song
sounds.
like Distance isn't pretty the whole way through.
Yeah, no, I get
It's
that.
telling a story.
Yeah,
And you can
What's so
you can make your
dumb,
guitar
like,
tell a story.
what I don't know how to put into words, and I don't know why this is, but I rarely focus on lyrics of songs. Very rarely.
So where does it come from then?
It's all the music to me. Like that
Where does the
feeling
feeling
that we're
come from?
talking. That feeling that we're talking about is from the music. Whether it makes me relate to something or what, but I don't know why, but because I don't pay attention to things lyrically very often.
And you don't.
I
mean,
don't.
You
Uh-uh.
could play a song that you could take a song that you've listened to 50 million times, play the whole song on guitar perfectly, and not know 3 words to it.
Yeah, so like, I mean the 30 songs that I play with our band, however many there is, I don't know that I know the lyrics to 2 of them.
Yeah.
I really don't.
So when we started showing you songs that you actually started writing your own parts to,
Uh-huh.
so like year 2 kind of stuff.
Uh-huh.
When you were coming up with your parts, it was just how does this part relate to the other music,
The
or
feel.
did the
It's all the feel.
music, like what part of the music made you feel something that then inspired you to create what you wanted to create?
I think of a lot of it is typically based off of chorus, because it's typically what the listener gravitates toward. And me, as a musician, I think a lot of those layers or melodies come from typically the chorus and the feeling that that specific chorus gives you.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I mean, for me, it's always been about how the song and the music itself. Yeah, I shouldn't say song. The music itself makes you feel.
So you feel absolutely indifferent whether it's a love song, a sappy love song, like lyrics, corny as shit, everything. You could give a shit less. You
I
play
don't-
that song out.
Yeah,
Every
so
night.
I don't know that it's that I could give a shit less, but yeah, I mean, I don't pay. As dumb as it sounds, I don't pay attention to lyrics very, very rarely. And any kind of music that I listen to, maybe a little more in rap, because a lot of the time that's how they put everything together. It's how you tell if they're, in your eyes, a good rapper or not.
I mean, that's all they do is lyrics.
Yeah. But now, dude, yeah, I feel stupid, but it's based off of how the music is driving me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I guess for me, so I've been thinking about writing. So Preston, you've noticed I've been playing a lot more acoustic guitar. I've been writing more shit that's not going to be used for the band. It's definitely not Screaming Evidence type material. And what I've been thinking about doing is kind of writing my own little solo project.
Mm-hmm.
And with that solo project, one of the things that I was thinking about writing about was love and these concepts around it and kind of my journey through it, because I haven't had the greatest fucking love life, you know, throughout my entire life.
Sure.
And so with that, it's been a huge influence on my life. And I'm sitting here thinking, I'm like, this thing that is easily one of the most powerful human emotions that I hate to admit has hugely influenced my life and my behavior and how I go through my day to day. But I'm like afraid to write about it.
I understand.
And
that.
I think part of it may stem from how other people would look at me or see it. And I know I shouldn't give a shit what other people think, but I'm also like, how
it's
do
a natural
I do
emotion
this?
to care.
Like, how do I do this without being corny or sounding cheesy?
Well, and like I said, it is a natural feeling to want to be accepted.
Mm-hmm.
I don't give a shit how many people, myself included, say, well, I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks about me. Yeah, you do.
You
Yeah,
care
do.
about what someone thinks.
You care about what someone
It may not be
thinks
the
about you.
masses, but there's someone that you care.
So, full disclosure, and this is not a criticism, but it's kind of a criticism. The one thing that's missing from Screaming Evidence is some fucking emotion when it comes to that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that you're able to admit that is huge. If you guys were to write a love ballad, whether it be love or anti-love, you have every piece of the band could offer something to that.
I think
And
we could write a great one.
I think you could write a great one too. But the problem is, you got to grow the set of nuts and do it. Do I think it would be hard? Yeah. It would be very hard. It would be very revealing. It would be very vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
But if you wanted to write a real love ballad about real life experience and to lead a listener on a journey, not only would it make them feel a certain type of way, it would make you feel a certain type of way too, as the writer of that song, being able to express the way you feel about a certain someone or a certain topic or a certain emotion or whatever it might be. You're going to give yourself relief, satisfaction, a number of things in writing that song. Fair?
That's
Fair.
fair. What do you think, P. Dunn?
Fair.
So bottom line is, you need to write a fucking love ballad. A ballad. You just need to write a ballad.
Let's write a ballad, dog. False Beliefs was kind of a ballad.
False Beliefs was kind of a ballad.
And I had
But
a
not
lot
quite.
of people. I had a lot of people say, tell me that they thought that was like a love song.
Yeah.
And it was absolutely I did not like that. That was a song I actually wrote, one of the few that we've used, and I did not write that with any concept of love.
Yeah.
People were like, "That's a love song." I'm like, "No, it's just a fucking ballad, bro." Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't. Just because it's a ballad doesn't mean it's about love.
Right. Or lack thereof. So, Preston, do you have a heavy metal hot take? I've given you plenty of time to think.
Haven't thought once except for now. I'm sick of 85% of metalcore right now sounding detuned, low, and sludgy, and just like everybody else. I'm fucking sick of it.
You mean like B-tuned?
What do you mean by that? Like in the note?
Because I doubt any of them are in like drop D. They're probably
No,
in
I mean
drop
just
D.
detuned, tuned down.
Yeah,
Right.
he doesn't mean tuned to D.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sorry.
So, my thought on that is, boy, do I agree with you.
well, I mean, preface this with we play in C.
Right.
I play in C sharp.
Yeah,
C's as far down as we have ever ventured.
I've played in drop B because of some bands that I listen to by myself. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like I follow Sharp Tone, and I'm gonna sound stupid because I know Sharp Tone Records has several different kinds of bands on their label, as well as UNFD, as well as Sumerian, stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, when I'm in my huggle at night, checking my YouTubes, a lot of this new metalcore, it's sounding the same to me, and I'm sick of it. I need something different. I need something now.
No, and I get it. And there are so many bands, and believe me, I have heard all about it on TikTok. That I'm a fucking, again, I'm a boomer core gatekeeper. But when I think of bands like, and I used to love these guys, all of these guys I'm about to name, I used to be fans of. Bring Me the Horizon, Wage War, A Day to Remember, I Prevail, Beartooth, Ice Nine Kills. The list goes on and on. They all sound the exact fucking same.
I
Ice
don't know
Nine
that
Kills
they
is a
all-
concept band. They do some different things. I
Yeah.
get that. But there's some different subtleties to them. But to your point, there are, and you said it, 80 to 85% of metalcore bands all do
I
the
could be
same
off
thing.
with that number, but to me,
No,
that's what
it's
it feels
correct.
like right now.
Because listen, there are select bands, Polaris, Era, Currents, Monuments, make them suffer, do things differently, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we listen to those periphery. We listen to those bands more because they do shit differently. It's not this sludgy, like you said, sludgy.
You know when a breakdown's coming. You know when
you can read the song like a book.
Yeah.
And Polaris doesn't play the same riff twice in one song. Very rarely.
But it's very spaced out.
Yeah, it's complete. I mean, they play
Yeah.
8 different riffs in a song. It's just different. So, and I get whatever. People tear me apart on it for social media, but I don't give a fuck. So many of the bands that you guys like, that's fine. That's perfectly fine. They found a niche, and Tyler, you've touched on this so well. They found a niche. It works for them. There are mainstream metalcore fans, and then there's whatever other metalcore fans like us.
Yeah.
That don't really care for that style anymore. It's just not, we don't listen to the same bands we did 10 years ago.
Pretty mainstream.
Metalcore has become a fad in a way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
It is very popular. And I love that the genre gets attention because when we were in high school and middle school, well, you guys listen to that fucking screamo shit. That ain't real music. That's all we ever heard.
Yep.
Well, now everybody loves it. So I guess we're the people that are like, oh, well, now everybody likes it, so it's not fucking cool.
Right.
But that's not what we're saying. What we're saying is that these bands that the vast majority of people love, to us, are not inventive enough for us to be like, damn, that's cool. No, we've heard it 10 million times.
It becomes background noise.
Yep.
Yes.
It becomes that thing that comes on while you're driving down the road for an hour and a half commute, and it's like, okay, I vibe to it.
Yeah.
I can listen to it, but I'm not
Engulfed by
I'm not listening to it deeply. I'm not really paying attention to what's going on anymore because it's following the same patterns. I've heard this song for the past 5 songs in the shuffle. I'm not that impressed.
I'm not that invested.
Right.
So think about the bands that fell off, that were huge, that we loved, that fell off, and we don't listen to anymore. Bullet, All That Remains, Of Mice and Men, We Came as Romans. Now, some of that's not of their own fault. Members die, members leave, whatever. When Austin Carlisle left Of Mice and Men, in my opinion, now, Tyler, you disagree with me. You like them without Austin Carlisle. But when Carlisle left for me, I was done with them.
Yeah.
I was done with them. So, but those bands have all continued in that same niche that same vein that they were in 2012. And bands that we listen to now weren't even around at that time. And when they came out, they did something completely different. And people that maybe aren't as, in tune to the music itself might not notice those changes. They still think it sounds the same. They hear people screaming. They hear clean choruses. They hear whatever it might be. But there are so many subtle differences that people like us that really dissect music hear and appreciate. So, I struggle with the majority of metalcore today, quote unquote metalcore today.
Yeah.
Bands like Norma Jean are not a dime a dozen.
Mm-mm.
But bands like Fit for a King are. There are so many of them.
Yep.
There's not very many like Norma Jean.
And it really doesn't matter if you were first or not.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
If you're one of the OGs and you're simply just playing your style, guess what? Your shit is diluted now.
Yeah. It is, because you've been doing the same thing for 20 years.
Yep.
I love Killswitch. Top 5 greatest metalcore band of all time. But they do the same shit. I don't listen to them on a daily basis. I skip a lot of their songs.
Yeah.
Because they're still doing the same shit. It's great music. They're really great songs. They're ragers, but it's the same shit. The bands that I listen to on a daily basis are so different, and I know that they're not. I don't know if you could consider them metalcore.
Well, they still have the roots of what we enjoy.
Bad Omens for me.
Ago.
Bad Omens is completely different. They have such a great mix of a lot of different things for me. They have these absolutely gorgeous vocals and these harmonies, and they're able to do, Noah, their frontman, is able to do so many different things. Motionless in White's the same thing for me. When you have such a versatile frontman that you can sing a love ballad, you can sing a song that makes you want to tear somebody's head off, and you can do all these different things, and no song sounds the same. That's what draws me to a band. Be unique, be different, write different songs. So, to answer your question, yeah, I'm kind of fed up with where the subgenre is today with most bands.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard for me to really add to that because really it's just been the last 4 to 5 years that I've really gotten into this heavier kind of music, metalcore. Hell, I mean, the heaviest band I had really listened to on a regular basis up until probably 6 years ago was fucking, I don't know, like Chevelle, Breaking Benjamin kind of
Sure.
stuff, you know? I really didn't listen to anything very heavy on a regular basis until I started hanging out with you guys more. But what I'll say is like Era.
Oh,
So you
God, I
guys
love
were
Era.
showing me all these different bands, and then by the time I got to Era, I was like, well, this sounds like everything else you guys have sent me.
Maybe a little
I
more
don't really
riffy.
love it, and it was hard for me to get into them. It wasn't until this past year that some of their songs would pop up on shuffle and stuff that I would really listen to and be like, damn, that's a really good fucking song.
Yeah.
And so I slowly became a fan of Era, but that's kind of that thing where me coming into metalcore listening as a fan, it was diluted already.
Yeah.
And
Mm-hmm.
that was, 4 years ago, whereas we're 4 years down the road and even more of these bands have come out and gotten big, and you go to the gym and everybody's listening to this kind of shit.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So it's
Yeah.
becoming super popular, and
Fit
so
for
you
a
have
King,
more and
Memphis
more
Mayfire,
bands
bands
coming
like
out
that. Yeah.
doing
All of those
this.
bands. I Prevail.
Which we all loved at one time.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm not saying that they're not talented because
Yeah.
they are.
Oh,
But
absolutely.
I mean, those dudes write riffs that I can't play. It's all I get it. They're super talented, but it becomes very monotonous, right?
Yep.
And we said it earlier. When you can predict the song, when you know when the breakdown's coming, you can read it like a book. I don't want to listen to it anymore.
But you also need some sort of familiarity as well.
Yeah,
You know-
you're not going to get too far
Style,
from
yes.
verse and chorus.
No, you're not.
Kind of stuff.
And I'm not saying that, but
How they
style is
construct it.
fine. It's all about progression and song construction for me.
Mm-hmm.
And a level of ingenuity
Mm-hmm.
and individuality. Just be different. Just be different. What makes you unique? Why should I listen to you over whoever
The other 12 bands doing
that are
this.
doing the same thing you are? Give me some reason. And that's why I think Polaris drew me so much, with the Dichotomy EP, their first EP. That was just some of the wildest shit I've ever heard. And some people might listen to that and go, well, it sounds just like any other metalcore band.
A lot of people will probably say that.
But it doesn't.
Yeah.
To me,
Which is subjective.
it's subjective. It's
Yeah.
all subjective. This is all opinion based. So people listen, don't get upset if we're saying that your band is not one of our favorites, because it's fine if it's yours. The way that we three think similarly, similar, ding dong, similarly, and differently at the same
You
time.
got it.
Yeah, it took me a minute. And the way that we dissect music is different than everybody else. And here's my thing, and I've said this so many times before on social media when I'm talking to people. We all appreciate and interpret music differently, and that's what makes it beautiful.
Yep.
And it
Yes.
is okay to feel differently than somebody else. There's nothing wrong with that. So when I say that I think Polaris is the greatest metalcore band of all time, you don't have to think that way. You might think Trivium's the best metalcore band of all. God, I love Trivium.
I actually enjoy listening to like Moths to Flames
Oh,
more
I
than
love
I do
Moths.
Polaris.
I love Moths. I love Moths so much. Not enough people talk about them.
No, they don't.
They've
been doing it for a while too.
Yeah, they have. Instinctive Intuition, baby.
Yeah.
I'd say they're probably my favorite metalcore band.
That's a great one to have at number one. Great one to have a number one. I'm telling you, this new Currents album, we're going down the rabbit hole now. I'm telling you, this new Currents album is going to be sweet. Sweet. I think it'll be the heaviest album since Bleed From Within's new one. Those first 3 songs are fucking heavy, dude. And Remember Me's almost ballady.
Yeah, almost.
So
Yeah.
for a really hardcore metalcore band that I consider true metalcore to do like a ballady song and do it really well, woo! I'm fucking juiced for this album. Juiced! I know you guys are too. So, well, I know we are right at that 2-hour mark. We're probably over it a little bit. Do you guys have anything else to add, or? I think we covered a lot. We covered a lot. Preston.
Again.
We're probably gonna make a lot of people hate us with this one.
That's fine. We want to
Bring
invoke
it
feelings.
on.
We're like
Yes,
we're like
bring it
we
on.
are writing ballads with our words on a podcast.
Just
We are
just
invoking emotions.
Don't send me the song "Distance" because I will cry.
Yeah.
But
So-
no, I'm glad y'all let me come on the pod. I'm excited to hear what everybody else has to say.
Yeah, for sure. Like I said, I know we're all super grateful to everyone that tuned into episode 1. I mean, going international right off the rip is incredible. So, and thank you so much to everyone that has reached out and interacted with me on TikTok regarding the podcast. And I encourage anyone that's listening that doesn't follow me to follow me on TikTok at Smoke2013. I'll be posting a little preview to the pod, so hopefully you guys see that, and then remember that when you listen to the pod when it drops. So until next time, we are the Screaming Idiots, and we'll see you guys next week.
Peace, love, dove.